Hello, I'm Ariel with Lowell Observatory, and here's what's in the sky this September. Jupiter and Saturn will be visible throughout most of the evening this month, not setting until well past midnight. These planets will both be in the constellation Capricorn. Venus will be visible in the very early evening sky, setting not long after sunset. Look for it towards the western horizon early in the month and the southwestern horizon late in the month during twilight, moving from Virgo to Libra over the course of the month. Mercury may be just barely visible after sunset for those with an unobstructed western horizon on September 14th, but for the most part, Mercury will be difficult to observe this month. Neptune will happen to be at opposition on September 14th as well. This means that on this day, Neptune will rise at about the same time as the sun sets. This will also be Earth's closest pass with Neptune. Even at opposition, Neptune will be nearly 2.7 billion miles away and several times fainter than the human eye can see, so it will only be visible with a telescope. At this time, Neptune will be in the constellation of Aquarius, a fairly faint constellation. Uranus will be in the constellation Aries this month, rising a bit later in the evening. The new moon this month will be on September 7th, and the full moon will be on September 20th. September 22nd will be this season's equinox. On this day, the plane of the Earth's equator will point directly at the sun, so day and night around the world will be roughly the same length. This will mark the beginning of astronomical autumn in the northern hemisphere and astronomical spring in the southern hemisphere. This month, the spring constellations like Ursa Major and Boötes set quickly after sunset. The summer constellations are still visible but are no longer dominating the night sky. Scorpius will set in the fairly early evening from northern latitudes and will be nearly gone from the night sky by the end of the month. Sagittarius will follow soon after it. The summer triangle of Vega, Deneb, and Altair will still be high in the early evening sky throughout the month. Vega is the brightest of these stars, and for most of the month will be the night's brightest star, although Venus and Jupiter are still brighter. The constellations of the autumn sky will become more prominent as the month progresses. The most famous and useful of these is Cassiopeia, the Queen. Cassiopeia makes a distinctive W shape towards the northeast in the early evening this time of year, and makes a great landmark for navigating the sky. The W of Cassiopeia opens up nearly directly towards Polaris, the North Star. Leading Cassiopeia in her journey around Polaris is her husband, Cepheus, the king. Two of Cassiopeia's stars, Navi and Shidar, point directly to the constellation Pegasus. Navi and Rukbar point directly to the constellation of Perseus. Following Pegasus is Andromeda. Much of the southern autumn sky lacks bright stars, especially when viewing from northern latitudes, but one notable exception is Fomalhaut, sometimes known as the Lonely Star. It's in the faint constellation of Pisces Australis, the southern fish. This year, Jupiter will be not too far to the northwest of it. There are some great binoculars targets in the autumn sky. One of these is the Perseus Double Cluster, two large clusters of stars that are adjacent to each other in space. The double cluster can be found almost exactly halfway between the shapes of Cassiopeia and Perseus. In dark skies, it will be barely visible to the unaided eye as a faint bluish glow, and binoculars or a small telescope will show its true glory. Another object is the Andromeda Galaxy. This is the closest large galaxy to us. Its core is just barely visible to the unaided eye on a clear dark night. It is considered the most distant object visible to the unaided eye at over 2 million light-years away. The spiral disk of the galaxy will become apparent with the help of binoculars. It takes up as much sky as several full moons. Many of the summer's most famous telescope targets will still be up as well. This includes the Ring Nebula, a planetary nebula in Lyra. You'll need a moderately sized telescope to see it. This also includes the Wild Duck Cluster, which is an open star cluster just off of the tail of Aquila the eagle. Summer's globular star clusters will still be up during the early evening for most of the season, like M13, which can be found on the leading edge of the keystone of Hercules. This month's Deep Sky Challenge is Caroline's Rose. This lovely open star cluster was discovered in 1783 by Caroline Herschel, one of the most skilled observers of her time. This cluster can be found in the constellation Cassiopeia. It can be found not far ahead of the star Caph, the star that leads the W in Cassiopeia in its journey across the sky. Good luck, and until next time, happy stargazing.